All right, Samantha.
Yes.
Samantha, where'd you grow up? Where are you from originally?
Uh, I was I was born in New Mexico, but I was raised right here in Los Angeles.
And tell me about your family.
The woman who took me in, she was a high school teacher at Hollywood High. She didn't really have much.
She took you in, meaning your
She
mom lost you.
ended up adopting me somehow. Um, Man, okay. My biological grandmother basically took me out of a drug house. I was in a drawer. I wasn't being taken care of at all. My biological grandmother worked at CYFD in that town. So she was able to quietly and very quickly get me out of that house and get me out of that town. I was taken to a woman, and she took me from El Paso Airport in Texas and took me to Los Angeles and basically raised me here.
And how was your childhood with her?
It was rocky solely because she was actually very progressive and very strong for her. She was strong-willed. She's great. She was raised in a tiny town in Santo, very racial. She got out of it, came to Los Angeles, met a black man in the 90s that wasn't perfect. She had to cut her ties with her family because she wanted to be with a black man. And they didn't get married for a really long time for it. I was never adopted by him because of it. Growing up in the 90s with that racial tension here made it extremely hard. And kids are mean. They're just asking honest questions. But for somebody like me, why is this black man picking you up? You know, you're a little white girl. I'm obviously not black. So it just always raised questions. People would stop us on the street all the time to make sure I was safe. It was ugly going into restaurants. Oh, you look just like your mother. She didn't look anything like me. It was just because we were both white. So people were just ugly. And it didn't help that it was a constant reminder for me that I didn't belong there. So I left home really early. Let me back up a little bit. When she got me, she took me to the hospital because my head was flat, my neck was kinked. It seemed like I was pretty abused. So it is my idea that my grandmother was trying to hide something and just kind of get me out of there. Hush, hush. My neck still is kinked to this day. So there was some damage that was done. The woman who got me massaged my head until it was round again. So there was a lot of trauma that happened already from Jump Street. Then there was this racial war that was going on kind of inside of, society, and then it affects our little family that we had. I didn't have any sisters, aunts, uncles, anybody to grow up with because of the segregation almost in, yeah.
But
It
your
really,
adopted parents were good?
they did the best. I went to magnet schools out here. I went to really good
But you
schools.
ran away from your family early.
Yes,
Why'd you do that?
I didn't feel connected there. They kind of had their own, I had a lot of problems, and they didn't know how to help me too. And I think I maybe did a part of that. I felt really alone
And where'd you
with
go?
them.
Where'd you go?
I started living on the streets when I was 13 here in Los Angeles. They tried to help me. They put me into a Reseda psych ward, right here, Reseda, and I AWOL'd.
You were into drugs?
Yes, I started using drugs in high school. And anything. I mean, these morning glory flowers, that are just grow out. Just take those, boil them, drink it. Yeah, and we would just trip balls for a couple of days, 13, 14. Yeah, on the streets in Los Angeles. So in order to
how are you supporting yourself?
We're stealing food, mostly, and we would all share. There was a group of, I was the only kid, though. I was the only kid. They were all older. I lied to them. I was 15 doing this. And so the state is not going to I'm going to keep getting arrested, right, and picked up when you're that young. They were 18, some were even 21, 23. We're all just living on the streets together. We lived in the wash in a tent. I remember we would take a cart and we would just cook food we would tip the cart over and we would cook food on the cart like that. Really young. I was really young. Stealing alcohol. Most of those people are actually dead now. So.
And where'd your life go from there? Did you finish high school?
Yes, actually I did.
With that lifestyle?
I was picked up and institutionalized for 2.5 years, and I was able to lose myself in school. So I did miss a lot of my high school. I was in and out of the Reseda institution. I took a Greyhound bus and squatted in New Mexico with a kid for about 6-7 months, got arrested out there, got brought back to California because, but I lived I was pretty wild when I was young. So I shaved my head in order to live in that. I stopped showering. So I was a child hobo, just as nasty as you can get. And that was the safest I could be, too. So the grosser I was, the better. Finally, I was arrested and taken to a place called Provo Canyon School. And the average stay there is, I believe, 6 to 9 months. I was hoping that I was going to get out eventually. They never wanted to tell me that they were going to keep me there until I was 18. Right when I got in, they shaved my head. I heard about other girls getting their heads completely shaved. I had a mohawk. So when I wore it down, though, I still had hair. So I still looked like a girl with a mohawk or not. All of my hair was gone. I had nothing. They put you in sweats, all the same color sweats, just a sweat. Top, sweat, bottoms. They completely stripped me naked. The people that worked here, the strangest part about this school, this institution, is what it was. It's a mental health institution, and for kids. And the strange thing is that the people that worked there, the staff, were all fresh out of high school. They were going to BYU. They had little life experience. Don't know why these kids were in charge. They were, I don't know anything, and I'm 33, So I just don't understand how 21-year-olds, 20-year-olds could help children that have been severely traumatized by lots of it. There are girls there with trichotillomania, pull out all of their hair. These are girls that were traumatized and needed help. Therapists came in and we had groups and we had stuff like that, but there weren't therapists there 24/7. There's staff, there's children, probably maybe going for some sort of therapeutic thing. Who knows what they were going to school for? It was probably just an easy job, an inside job. And get to babysit kids, but that's how they looked at it. They babysat us. That's not what all of these kids or what the parents think is going on either. They think they are sending their kid to get help, okay? And it doesn't, it's
So you got out of there at 18.
yeah, they made me
Then
stay
what?
there until I was 18. And they, I just wanted to say this too, they tube fed me when I was well of weight, like probably 140. To give that I'm about 130 right now, just to give that they would tube feed me, and they would leave a tube on the side of my face and tape it, and then just pour Boost down it 3 times a day. Yeah. And the tube would just be stuck in your throat. So all day you have to gag, like something's in. So with a shaved head and a tube, this place is really strange. It's you see it on sci-fi movies, you know, how they shave little kids and they put them in, you know, and they do strange things to them. But no, that really happens a lot. And the state pays for it.
So when you finally got out of there, what'd you do with your life? You're basically an adult.
I am an adult. And one of the main reasons why they took me to this place was because I didn't have a place to. I was so wild that I just lived on the streets. They had to keep me there. So because of that, right? And because I was a little, you know, I mean, he lives on the streets. I must be a little crazy, right? I was still on the streets when they didn't help me like get a place or they just kept me until my 18th birthday. Luckily, I graduated, top of my class, even took a lot of courses at BYU. And I was able to just do schoolwork constantly there, really, really. That's all I did there. So I excelled in that. More of a, I got out, I was still homeless though. Got a van, started living in California, started doing drugs. It's not like that place helped me with anything. So I was still the same, I still had the same issues. The abandonment issues, the connection I needed, as a familial connection I needed, was I think taken to me really by society, just how ugly society was. I think I could have maybe progressed really well with them, even if they were alone with no, you know, siblings or anything. I got out in 2007. Market crashed here in 2008. It was ridiculous. So I decided to move to New Mexico, where it was cheaper. I knew my biological family lived there. And I kind of wanted to have some sort of connection. And it was cheap. I was able to buy a house in Carlsbad, New Mexico for $60,000 when I was 19. Yeah, so moved out there. Found out my biological family is real messed up. So I ended up on, you know, out here I was doing psychedelics, smoking a lot of weed. Out there it was meth. It was harder drugs. So, started shooting up meth. And my veins were gone, which happens to a lot of women. Our veins aren't as ropey as you know, men veins. We don't have it like that. So women, I think, deteriorate a little bit faster when they start using the needle than men do. I was only using the needle for a few months and my veins were blown. I had to flip upside down and blow out my neck vein like that in order to hit. I am 20 years old and I'm in a really, there's predators. I mean, there's predators everywhere, right? But they especially love it when You're alone, and you have to flip upside down and trust somebody will hit your vein right and puts you in a really vulnerable position. So I was in that vulnerable position, as a lot of women are. And I ended up, I killed a man who gave me way too many drugs when I was flipped upside down. Took me out into a garage outside of town. And he gave me his truck to leave. It was really strange. He was high too, though. I believe he had some frontal lobe damage from a motorcycle accident. So he wasn't all there doing drugs with me, and I wasn't all there because I was doing, drugs with him. And man, he died. He ended up dying.
How'd you kill him?
I stabbed him. I stabbed him in the chest one time.
For what purpose? For what reason?
Well, he asked me to, if you want me to be really honest. He asked me to. We were fighting over his vehicle. He took me out to his garage and promised me that he had water jugs out there because my water had just gotten shut off. He did not have water jugs out there. He worked for the oil field. A man started banging on the garage door, saying that he needed to go to work. Thankfully, because he had a mallet in his hand. And the last thing he told me was, you're gonna need this, or you're gonna need some like self-defense. You're gonna need, that's what he implied to me. And he kept trying to touch me. I think he thought that since he gave me dope and he gave me a lot of it, that I would sleep with him. But it had the adverse effect. It was more of a super paranoid, don't touch me. Why did you give me so much drugs? Why are we now out in the middle of nowhere with no water? Paranoia. So I can't promise that paranoia was real. Does that make sense? And maybe that's just my own guilt. But I'm pretty sure lying to a girl, giving her a lot of drugs, taking her out into a garage where there's no water. And I ended up having to take his truck. That guy came to come get him for work. It was in the middle of the night too, so I'm assuming he worked graveyard. Yeah, it's a really strange, we're all high, so nothing kind of really makes sense. We're not doing anything logically. Why he took me out to that garage if he knew he had to go to work is weird. Then he had to give me his truck. Well, why did you do that to me? So in my mind, I'm gonna hide this truck. Teach him a lesson. I'll give it back to him eventually. I don't need his truck, Well, we're all high, so that was my plan. We were gonna get his truck back, but...
Did you get caught?
Did I get caught what?
You murdered somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get caught?
Oh yeah, I got charged for it. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I told the police what happened. I said this guy gave me a lot of drugs, took me out in the middle of nowhere and lied to me. So I hit his truck, just like a, fuck you. How dare you do that to me? What was all that about? And when the, fight ensued, he died. He was like, stab me. You won't do it. And, you stupid bitch, you won't do it. Do it. You won't fucking stab me. Well, I did. I guess it doesn't seem very logical, but I was high. And I was scared. And I was just given a bunch of drugs. And this guy's angry at me now. I was trying to get his truck back for him, okay? He was at my house. Where's my truck? I was like, all right, fine, I'll give it to you. All right. Said, hey, will you go? He didn't want me to leave. He's like, I don't want you to leave. You're going to stay here with me until I get my truck back. We had somebody else who was very high go get the truck.
How much time did you get?
I got 6 years flat, 2 on parole. They charged me with first-degree premeditated murder. I fought it in trial for 18 months. They gave me a shit attorney that was dying. He died shortly after my trial. Heart complications. So they gave me this attorney that didn't do anything, probably got paid, I'm pretty sure he got paid the same, regardless. He didn't put on any defense, except that the guy that I killed was a known registered sex offender. He was a known pedophile in that town. He is actually known for drugging girls and doing that exact thing. So that was in my favor. And I was scared when it happened. I was high when it happened. Yeah, nobody can, it could have happened to anybody is what I'm saying. Any girl high, like on this Skid Row street right now. It could happen to any of them. And then they'll pay for it. Dearly, dearly. I was in the interrogation room, so messed up. I was passing out on the interrogation. I couldn't even open a bottle of water because my hands were so swollen. Remember, I have no circulation, all the needle use. So my hands are swollen, my feet are swollen. The cop asked me if I'm okay. I said, no, I am not okay. And yeah, I was charged with first-degree murder for that. To top it off, when they put you in prison, they categorize you by charges. So if you're in there for murder, you know, then you're in there with all the other murderers. And I don't necessarily know if I really kind of fit the murder type, you know? I mean, I did live a really wild life, but not like that. I didn't think I was ever gonna kill anybody. Does that make sense? These girls in here, absolutely. Some of them are insane. And yeah, that's when you realize that the prison is just a mental health crisis. It's just a bunch of people with trauma, you know. I hate the saying, you know, hurt people. Yes, that's exactly what happens. You don't have to hurt people if you're hurt, but that's the only way it happens. And yeah, a lot of, when you're thrown into a position where you're going to need to be in there for a while, then you kind of switch up who you are, right? If you're going to be put in a cage, you know, like an animal, you're probably going to start acting and behaving as such. So that's what I did. That's what I did in there. I survived great, I think. But I was tattooing. I was fighting for minimal things. I've gouged out eyes. I did horrible things in there. And horrible things were done to me as well. Got a concussion. I had to go to the medical ward for a while to even my head and my body weren't connected, I guess you would say. I was knocked, my head was knocked. So in order for me to like walk proper, you can't go back out into population if you can't walk right. So I turned into a complete animal. And then it makes you kind of question if you are that, And I think I have to fight every day. Like I'm not a monster. I don't think so. I just think I needed help. I think I needed help when I was really young, and I didn't get it. When I was institutionalized 3 times, 4 times before I was 15. I was seeing all these therapists, probably wrongly diagnosed, It seems like this is a story that happens with so many people, but mine is just an extreme, teenagers all have, hormonal issues and get a little wild, but do parents, send their kid off to one of these residential schools? Do you look into the residential school? Does it have a long history of abuse, child abuse? Do they lock kids in cement rooms with nothing? Nothing. Now here's the crazy part about prison and Provo. Prison, we had beds in our cells when we were in trouble. Even our dry cells. When, you'd keister things, they would put you in a dry cell to force you to take stuff out of you, whatever that is. Me, it would mostly be motors, because I'm a tattoo artist. So they would put you in a dry cell, but you'd still have a cot and a sink and a toilet. In Provo, as a 15-year-old girl, which there's lots of girls there, you're just on a nothing. They give you nothing. You're on the floor in a cement cell in there, and they'll leave you in there for hours, sometimes naked, forcing showers on the kids. So this institution is doing this thing when I was a child, and then this institution is a totally different monster. It's almost like I was prepped. Like this, the state kind of prepped me for that, and I was just easy pickings by the time I was an adult, and you're high and you're getting preyed on by a man that's twice your age who is a predator, because I said the wrong thing to the cop when I was high. I got charged with first-degree murder because of that. So I was just easily preyed on, I think from Jump Street, really. From birth with CPS, doing that strange adoption over state lines that makes no sense, to child institutions, to prison. Kind of set you up. It seems like everybody's kind of making money off of trauma.
You've been out for how many years now?
I've been out for 6 years, 4 off of parole.
Where's your life stand now? Do you have kids?
I have a child. I have 1 son.
You're raising him?
Yes. Mm-hmm. With his father. We live on the lake. I need to kind of be alone, so I live away from people, really peaceful. I don't know if that's maybe good for everybody, but it's really peaceful, and that's all I care about. On the lake, in the middle of Texas.
And your life is better now? No drugs?
No, I smoke weed, but no drugs.
And looking back at this crazy past of yours, looking back at your past, do you blame your parents? Do you blame the environment you were in, your DNA? What do you? There's
a lot of circumstances. I blame, the nature versus nurture question. That's a big one with me because I wasn't raised with, the nature.
Right.
I believe that the circumstances adopting a kid isn't what it's cracked up to be. I don't think that's the answer. People think it is. Adopting a potentially damaged psychologically or physically, adopting, that's a big responsibility. I don't think people really grasp the severity of being, abandoned as a child. So detrimental, yeah. It's seriously traumatizing, and I think it's kind of minimized. Maybe I'm sure you've seen it a lot doing what you do. I'm sure half the people in here are adopted, but right. It is a small percentage, though. At the same time, so there was that. It was the racial. I didn't feel a part. It connected to a family which I probably needed desperately. Being, I should not have went to her. The way I was, well, I guess we could root this all to CYFD corruption, really. That's where it all started. That's where my trauma started, was me coming out of a junkie home, abused, and then somehow going across state lines and getting to a woman who she was under the impression that I didn't have any other family. I have a brother. I have a whole other family that I just disappeared from. They had no idea what happened to me. So how I ended up with a woman who was just a teacher at Hollywood High, grew kind of in the slums, really. Remember sewer everywhere. We would step on plastic lids, Tupperware lids, to walk across, and this was when I was 3, 4. She was basically dying of melanoma cancer as well. How I was able to, not saying that she didn't do the best that she could, you see what I mean, but how I was able to end up with her. Was probably the first start of a roller coaster events of not making much sense.
And you mentioned how you like to be isolated now as an adult. What other effects have your childhood had on you?
Oh, yeah. I like to, coming out here, super stressful, super stressful. There's a lot of people. I am just going to say it like this. You know what? We actually all, I'm not going to beat myself up over this, okay? Everybody's got a little bit of monster in them, all right? And mine comes out a little bit quicker. So I decide to isolate myself, not for, yes, for my sanity, but maybe for somebody else too, you know? If I'm out here and let's just say, I'm not in the right, I'm not in the happiest mood, I'm not, something's not, and I'm pushed the wrong way, I will lash out violently. So, I don't want to be a violent person. I'm not in prison anymore. I don't need to gouge somebody's eyes out,
And Samantha, what would you say is the most important lesson you've learned in all of this?
I really just don't want to do the same thing to my child. Being isolated, not having family support, not having, I just want, you got to start with the children, right? That's it, really. You got to start with the children. Because if you, the only thing I've learned is, taking care of don't want to grow up and be an ugly person and hurt people that, you know, potentially didn't deserve it, maybe, you know? Nobody deserves to get your traumatic bullshit off your chest on somebody else. Does that make sense? You see what I mean? That's the only thing I've learned, is to treat our children right. You know, listen to them. You know, because I was struggling, really, really, I was struggling as a child. I was screaming out, lashing out. I mean, gosh, I was living in a tent and I was so young. Dangerous out here for, you know, a little girl in Los Angeles to live like that. I'm surprised I'm alive. So, screaming out for help. And maybe the drug use, just maybe all of this other self-destructive stuff is that people do. Self-destruct and out, you know, this is outer too, you know. It affects we all affect everyone. Everything I did as a kid, everything I did as an adult. At times I feel like I was forced to kind of turn into an animal to fit into that mold that I was in. You don't have to. I guess you just gotta know how to control your animal. And if you can't control it, then go live out on the lake where it's really peaceful and you hear birds outside and, you know.
All right, Samantha, thank you so much for sharing your story. Mm-hmm. Wish you the best of luck now. Thanks.